Doctors are often seen as symbols of strength, steady hands, calm minds, unshakable confidence. You can see them saving lives, making split second decisions, standing tall through chaos. But behind that white coat, behind those confident eyes, sometimes stands a person quietly fighting a battle no one sees. That battle called depression. Doctors are taught to care for everyone else, but rarely for themselves. We are trained to suppress emotion, to push through, to show up no matter how exhausted we are. The hospital becomes our second home, sometimes our only home, and the sound of monitors replaces the sound of our own heartbeat. Because medicine is not just science, it's sacrifice. It's missed meals, sleepless nights, lost birthdays, constant responsibility. It is carrying the weight of someone's life on your shoulders and pretending that it doesn't weigh us down. Sometimes, when that weight becomes too heavy, depression slips in quietly. It doesn't always look like sadness. Sometimes it looks like numbness. Sometimes it's the surgeon staring at the wall after a long case, feeling nothing. Sometimes it's the resident driving home at 2 a.m., wondering if any of it still means anything. Depression among doctors isn't a sign of weakness, it's a human response to inhuman levels of stress, responsibility, and isolation. It's the cost of caring too much for too long without enough support. But why does depression occur in doctors? There are actually many reasons. The first is called the culture of perfection and pressure. From the very first day of medical training, doctors are conditioned to be perfect, to make no mistakes, to always be in control, and to bear responsibility for life and death. This zero error expectation creates enormous psychological pressure. When something goes wrong, even slightly, doctors often internalize it as personal failure, leading to guilt, shame, and self criticism. Surgeons, in particular, carry this burden heavily because one decision, one movement can change a life. The second reason is the long hours of work, sleep deprivation, and physical exhaustion. Doctors often work extremely long shifts, sometimes exceeding 80 to 100 hours per week. But why is this? Doctors have long shifts due to the need for continuous patient care, the demanding nature of medicine, which can't be confined to a 9 to 5 schedule, and historical training practices that emphasize patient continuity and hands on experience. These factors, combined with factors like personnel shortages and the high demand for medical services, contribute to long hours. Next comes emotional burden and compassion fatigue. Doctors are exposed to human suffering every day: death, pain, trauma, and loss. They must show empathy without being overwhelmed and must show strength without detachment. Over time, this emotional balancing act can lead to compassion fatigue, a state where one's capacity to care feels depleted, leaving numbness or sadness in its place. Then comes the stigma and silence around mental health. Ironically, in the healing profession, seeking help for mental health is often seen as weakness. Many doctors fear being judged by colleagues or facing professional consequences if they disclose depression or burnout. This stigma keeps them silent, and silence deepens suffering. And of course, a lack of work life balance. Medical careers often leave little time for family, rest, or personal growth. Surgeons may miss milestones, holidays, and even basic self care. Over time, this imbalance erodes resilience and increases feeling of isolation or emptiness, classic triggers for depression. Apart from all this, there is something unique called moral injury. Many doctors experience what's called moral injury, the distress of being forced to act against one's ethical values, often due to systemic pressures like denying care due to cost or workload. This inner conflict can lead to guilt, frustration, and depressive thoughts. And of course, high expectations and low gratitude. Society often holds doctors to superhuman standards. Patients expect instant cures. Institutions expect productivity and families expect stability, but few recognize the toll that it takes. This gap between expectation and appreciation leaves many doctors feeling unseen, undervalued, and alone. So, what can we do about it? Well, there is hope, and hope begins with movement, with talking, with connection, with remembering that even doctors are human. Just like the body heals through motion, the mind heals through openness. Because when you are in the grip of depression, when the world feels dim, when getting out of bed feels like climbing a mountain, every part of you wants to stop moving. So you tell yourself, what's the point? You sit still, you withdraw, you disappear a little more each day. And that's exactly where depression wants you, stuck, still, and silent. But here's the thing, the moment you start to move, even a little, depression starts to lose its power. Not because you suddenly feel happy or strong, but because you're defying it. When you take a walk, when you make your bed, when you pick up the phone and say, hey, I could use some company. When you do anything that moves you forward, no matter how small, you become a moving target, and depression can't hit what keeps moving. That's okay, but what else can we do? There are two levels in which action can be taken in, the personal level and the professional level. At the personal level, first we should acknowledge and accept, recognize that depression is not weakness, it's a medical condition and not a moral flaw. Accepting it is the first act of strength and healing. Then we can seek professional help early. We can consult a psychiatrist, psychologist, or counselor, preferably outside our hospital for confidentiality. But most importantly, we need to break the silence. We can talk to a trusted colleague, mentor, or friend. Sharing the load often reduces its weight. Depression thrives in secrecy. Talking weakens it. Then, on the path to healing, we need to prioritize sleep and rest. We need to protect our rest time like a prescription. Even short naps will help. And we also need to take care of our body. Exercising regularly is very important. Physical activity is a proven antidepressant. For even brisk walking, yoga, or stretching before or after shifts will help. At the professional level, there should be peer support programs. Hospitals should implement confidential peer support systems where doctors can talk openly after traumatic cases or burnout episodes. After adverse events or surgical complications, structured emotional debriefing helps prevent internalizing guilt and trauma. And fair scheduling and rest cycles should be arranged by limiting night shifts, ensuring post call rest, and rotate duties equitably to prevent chronic fatigue. Similarly, mentorship and safe conversations with senior doctors and department heads who actually check in on juniors, not just about performance, but also about well being. We need to normalize mental health days. Just like physical illness leave, mental health leave should be accepted without stigma or career penalty. And a healthy work culture will help. And we need to replace shame and stoicism with empathy and respect. We need to create spaces where saying, I'm struggling, is seen as a sign of maturity, not weakness.